my biggest issue is that I don't get to eat enough of my recipes. Oh my goodness, I feel so good mentally right now. And I don't think you realize that you're carrying it until there were a lot of key information that were maybe not applied in everyday life. We wouldn't have as much heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure as we have, like building block of the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is that little butterfly we have around here. And yeah, it regulates a lot of body. Giant screen, why I'm no longer vegan in a vegan festival.
Welcome back to another episode of the Plant Fuel Podcast. I'm Callum, your host and plant-based nutritionist, and I'm thrilled to be sitting down with Sarah Cobacho, better known to her millions of followers as Plant-Based. Sarah's journey is as rich and flavourful as the dishes she creates. From her upbringing in France to the pivotal moment when she decided to bid farewell to meat, we trace her path to becoming a nutritionist, moving to Sydney, and becoming the creative force behind Plant-Based alongside her partner Cam. Through her platform, Sarah has amassed a loyal following who eagerly devour her mouthwatering creations, each dish a testament to her culinary prowess and passion for plant-based living. In our conversation, Sarah generously shares her insights into her journey, offering a glimpse into the inspiration behind Plant-Based and a dedication that has propelled her to success. We also dive into the world of nutrition, discussing key nutrients like protein, iron, calcium, iodine, selenium, and so much more. Topics that are not only essential for thriving on a plant-based diet, but also serve as a cornerstone of Sarah's approach to health and wellness. But our discussion doesn't stop there. We also tackled the sometimes conscientious subject of individuals who declare themselves no longer vegan, exploring the complexities and nuances that accompany such decisions. This episode promises to be a feast for the senses, a tantalizing blend of culinary delights and nutritional wisdom. Whether you're a seasoned vegan or simply someone who has a passion for good food, Sarah's story is sure to leave you inspired and hungry for more. Before we indulge into this delectable conversation, I want to extend my gratitude to you, our listeners. For the continued support and enthusiasm, your appetite for knowledge fuels my mission to educate and inspire through the power of plant-based living. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving a review or rating on your preferred platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue spreading the plant-powered message. Let's dive into the world of plant-based with the one and only Sarah Cobacho. Welcome to the Plant Fuel Podcast, Sarah. How are you?
Hey Callum, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. It's bright and morning here, so yeah.
Oh yeah. See, this is probably actually the most normal podcast time I've done in a while. It's for the last 4 months I've been filming with people all around the world, and Australia's time difference is so inconvenient to the rest of the world.
Oh, don't tell me about it. I know we've been having quite a few meetings with the US, and it's it's a bit disheveled.
Yeah, I think most of my podcast times I've been doing lately have been 1 a.m., 5 a.m., 9 p.m., just really inconvenient times. But luckily, we both live in Sydney, so
You're
this
very
works perfectly.
dedicated.
Sarah, for the people that don't know who you are, who is Sarah Cobacho? What is the journey that's brought you here today? Where did we start?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. Just to keep it short, I was born in France on the French Riviera, a little town, and I moved to Sydney about 10 years ago. I became a vegetarian while I was still in France. It was very much driven by the animal movement. I saw a video once. I was actually coming back from the club at 4 a.m. Oops. It was, Facebook, like we did back in those time, and I saw a slaughterhouse video of a cow, and I can honestly say I've never actually really thought about it before, but I've never had meat since. I was absolutely traumatized, and I spent, I think, the next few hours until the sunrise on Google researching things, and I was like, oh, this is not okay. But it wasn't really driven by any health decision, so I just kept on going with my little life. And yeah, I wasn't really the best vegetarian you could be. Then I moved to Sydney, and it was a revelation. I don't know about you coming from the UK, but coming from the south of France, they looked at me a little bit weirdly when I just said I didn't want to eat meat. So when I arrived here, we had corn, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with this brand. It's vegan schnitzel patties. And just that was like, oh my God, there's like multiple kind of tofu. What is this? Like it's the plant-based scene in Sydney even 10 years ago was a lot further than anything I had ever encountered. And so it's made it a little bit easier. I kept living my little life here, and unfortunately, my daddy got sick and passed away really shortly after his diagnosis from cancer. And I think when you are faced with this kind of tragedy, you are forced to reevaluate your life. And what are your values? What do you stand for? What do you want to do? And for me, one choice was very clear. I was being a little bit looking the other way by being vegetarian. And I knew for a while already that to align with what I believed, I had to become vegan. So Cam and I became vegan overnight. And we also decided to completely change our life and, went pretty much sober, I would say sober curious. Went vegan, exercised a lot more, just like change everything. And in this discovery journey, I realized how much better I felt and decided to go back to school and study nutrition. And so I guess that is my not so short story. But when I was studying nutrition and when I started working in clinics, something really became very clear to me is that there is a huge disparity between what people think healthy eating is and what it actually can be. And everybody thinks it's so, so, so boring. So I guess I just made it my mission to prove that not only healthy food is delicious, but plant-based food is even better.
Have the recipes online. I don't think anybody, like, no matter what dietary requirement you have or your or whatever diet you're moving towards, you cannot say that the food that you're producing as well looks incredible to anybody, like visually, like to anybody's like eye, like it's just a beautiful dish. Like, but you're not promoting it. But you're not promoting it as this is vegan. This is obviously everything's made from plants, but it's not being kind of shoved in the face of the consumer, I guess. It's very much just you being happy, you cooking, producing this wonderful dish, and nobody questions it. It's just a visually beautiful dish that also tastes amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is a big component of why we have been quite successful. And I think there is a lot of room for every different sort of advocacy in vegan movement. I'm choosing to focus on the diet part itself. And our recipe are literally for anyone who would like to eat more plants. So we have a lot of people who are seasoned vegan, plant-based, veggies. We also have a really large part that are just people who want to feel a little bit better and who are introducing this way of eating into their life. Or even sometimes just, they want a new breakfast idea.
That's the thing, but like, I know in the last like I'd say 5 years, there's been so much more of a push by like the world to kind of like introduce more plants into the diet, even if you're not going to go 100% plant-based or you're not going to go 100% vegan. Like, there's more of a push to add those plants into your diet, and I feel like coming to a page, especially like yours as well, like you can literally jump on, see a recipe that are very quick, like they're very easy to make as well. Like you're making it very quick and easy. You're making it visually nice to look at, where people will be like, oh, I can try that because it's not going to be like 15,000, ingredients like some recipe books you get. And it's simplistic, but at the same time nourishing to your body.
Oh, thank you. I'm very glad you think so. I do put a lot of, something we don't talk about as much, but I do put a lot of effort ahead into making sure every nutrient is really balanced. So you would see all of our recipes have a minimum of 20 grams of protein for all the mains and everything. And I also always make sure to include a wide variety, not only for a thriving microbiome, healthy gut health, but also to make sure we really nail all of those little nutrient of focus that could be a little bit of a concern on a plant-based diet. So, I just want people who come in and you're like, okay, I can just pick the recipe I want. We're covered here. We're good.
See, I was gonna actually ask that because when I put one of your recipes into Chronometer, um, they were all very nutritionally sound. Like everyone was, as you said, it was high in protein. There was most of the essential nutrients that you need as well. And I didn't know if that was something that was already very much calculated, or you were just kind of making them, and it was kind of like not a mistake,
Happy coincidence.
coincidence.
No, I do run every recipes into Chronometer before I even test them. So like that, it allows me to, before I even get testing, to be like, okay, so for example, I have 1 cup of chickpea into this recipe, but we only add 17 grams of protein or 18 grams of protein. What about adding a cup and a half instead, and a couple of tablespoons of hemp seed just to make sure we get to that threshold? Or is it like really low in iron? We're just trying to get it there. Then I get testing and then we adjust. But just so you know, if you click under the recipes, there's a little button and you can actually get all the nutrition information too.
Oh, that's amazing. At least you've got that for the people as well. Because that's the thing that I found with a lot of things that you do find online on Instagram. Somebody will be preaching something, but there's no evidence to support anything, whether that be a recipe, whether that be just a claim or something. There's never any kind of evidence supported. But the fact that you've got the evidence of the nutrition as well, like nobody can kind of fight against that as well. So obviously you had your vegan aha moment, which was a slaughterhouse video, and I think that is I think the large majority of vegans is there is either a slaughterhouse video, or so for me it was. You may stumble across a documentary, but that pivotal moment that you had where you did watch that, also props for you for watching it at 4 in the morning as well.
It wasn't the most fun end of the evening, I'm not gonna lie.
So was that kind of like a next day kind of switch over to like veganism, or was it like a slow transition to like vegetarian?
No, it was a slow transition. So from that night, I had meat into my fridge and I gave it to my friends the day after. I've never had meat again, but I didn't look any further. So I became vegetarian. Then when I moved to Sydney, I removed fish as well. And then we went fully vegan. Cam transition. Cam is my partner. He's the other half of Plant Base, our online social media. He does all the behind the scene filming, website, everything. And he was actually full meat eater before, and we just went completely overnight.
I love the fact that, but sometimes it does take a while, but the fact that you have gone overnight as well, you've it is life changing as well, because you don't realize how good you feel afterwards, and then when you're, I guess, morally aligned with the ethics as well, you do feel so much better in yourself, because you know that your cognitive dissonance kind of, it starts to align. It's no longer there.
I know exactly what you mean. I genuinely remember feeling this. The moment I actually decided to never consume animal product again, I felt like a weight was lifting off my shoulder that I did not even know I had this entire time, because there is a point where, I'm going to be really honest, I knew for a few weeks. I had looked into it. I was watching Earthling Ed's videos, this kind of things, but I hadn't made the full transition yet. And the moment I made that decision, it was like, oh my goodness, I feel so good mentally right now. And I don't think you realize that you're carrying it until you don't.
Your kind of aura and your atmosphere about yourself gets greater. It feels more fulfilling, I would say. But coming from a place like France, that is very, I wouldn't say vegan friendly, because as you said, you grew up in south of France. I remember I went to, is it Toulon?
It's actually quite close. Yeah, I live an hour and a half from that. Yeah.
Oh, so I went there in 2018, I think,
Mhm.
and I remember being at a restaurant and trying to
God.
explain, trying to explain that I didn't want any meat, fish, dairy, anything, and me also not speaking great French either. This was through Google Translate. Um, them not understanding anything and basically getting a very, I think it was just a salad and a black coffee that I got.
I can assure you, even if you speak French, it's not that much better. Do you understand? No, but last time I went a couple years, like a year and a half ago, and before that was 5 years. And I've noticed a massive difference because 5 years before that, there were absolutely no understanding or option on menus. But we went, last year and a half summer, and all the little beach club, everyone had a token vegan option. And it's a bit of a letdown. It's a salad with zero protein, just a bunch of chopped veggies. There's really nothing exciting about it, but it's on the menu. So I feel like we're getting a little bit closer. And obviously I'm from small towns. So when we went to Nice, Marseille, Paris, then the options are a lot more exciting. I think the difference is as long as you have happy cow with you in your pocket and you know where to go, you'll be fine. If you're just trying to wing it and get into a restaurant, you're in trouble.
Yeah, like Happy Cow is a lifesaver. Um,
Mm.
was so last year I was in South America and also a very Spanish speaking country, and I can't or continent, and I can't speak the greatest of Spanish. Um, However, Happy Cow was an absolute lifesaver. You go into like remote little places, and there is little options on there. They might not be the greatest options, but there is an option for you,
Yeah.
um, which was a lifesaver. Because otherwise, it would have been beans and rice, which also I don't mind. I love a
Okay.
beans and rice dish. So, what prompted the move to Sydney?
Oh, I was actually in law school and I realized I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. I was 3 years in and I took a little break to try to find myself. Didn't find myself, so I decided to go back to law school. I was like, okay, 6 months was enough. What are we doing now? And I decided to go to Bali before. And yeah, I guess I had my own little eat, pray, love moment. I was just like there in Bali, I was loving life. And I decided, I don't really want to go back to do this law school thing. And I had a friend who had just arrived in Sydney. I was like, I'm not too far. I'm going to give it a go. Try, see what's going on there. Keep hanging around for a bit. And when I got here, I met Cameron within just a few months and never left, never left.
No, and it's 10 years now. You've been in Sydney.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that, and still haven't lost the accent, which is great.
I know. I'm trying, but it doesn't go away.
Yes, I think I've been here 2 years now, and every time I wander around, the vegan scene surprises me so much because it just gets bigger and better. But as you said earlier, like you go into like a Coles or a Woolies, and there is like 15, 16 different types of tofu.
Mm.
Back home, we have quite a few in the vegan scene, and London's great, but you have such an Asian influence here, so that you've got the tofu, you've got tempeh readily
Oh,
available,
it's amazing.
which I absolutely love. Or even just going to like a Harrods farmers market. Those things incredible.
Yeah, oh, it's fun the best. But yeah, the scene here is yeah, the influence of the cuisine is probably a lot more friendly to veggie dishes. And I think we're exceptionally lucky in Sydney because we do have a lot of like gorgeous little vegan restaurants. But even non-vegan restaurants now have, it's not that token option I was talking about back in France. We have incredible, really beautiful option in pretty much anywhere you can go. Like I can't remember the last time I've been somewhere and I wasn't like great. Oh my god, amazing. You know.
Yeah, I think no matter what restaurant you go to here, unless it's kind of like a steakhouse, which none of us are going to a steakhouse, that there is options. And like, although they may not be the greatest options, they're always something like a tofu dish or a like a lentil dish or something like that, especially like your curries. But there's always an option no matter where you go, which is such a kind of revelation as well. Because back in London, although it is very much like I think it got counted as like the vegan capital, there are still restaurants that you can go to and there's nothing. Whereas
Okay.
Sydney has, I feel like as well, everybody's very health conscious here as well. So there's always
Yeah,
the option for everyone.
I was just going to say, I think there's definitely a very big focus. I come from a hospitality background as well, and there's a really big focus in the hospitality scene in Sydney around allergy and inclusivity and making sure you can cater to everyone. And I think you can really feel that. Plus, people are extremely friendly, so they're just happy to make it work. And I think everyone's nailed like having all you need is like one really good option on a menu. I don't need a non-vegan restaurant to give me a range of 15 dishes to choose from. I know that's not the thing. I'm just really grateful for one or two very good options because I'm not gonna eat there every single day, you know.
Absolutely. No, and I think especially if you head to like, suburbs like Newtown as well, like I feel like there's more vegan restaurants there than there is anywhere else in Sydney. That like the whole street is just vegan, 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 vegan.
Fantastic.
Um, which is when I was moving, I was looking at Newtown, but realized if I go to Newtown, I'm never going to stop eating. Because it's just so accessible because you've got like pizza restaurants, you've got like everything, like you got your Thai, you got Mexican, everything that you can ever think of, and
Too much
just
temptation.
everything. Yeah, too much choice, but also at the same time, I'd be eating out every single day. So I was like, I can't go to Newtown.
Special treat only.
Yeah. So you gave up obviously law school and came to Sydney. Is this when you jumped into nutrition?
Not straight away. First, I worked in hospitality for a little while. And then while studying, I just managed restaurants as well. So just doing that all the way. It was quite a busy 4 years. Lots of bit tired at the end of those 4 years, but now yes, great.
Yeah, it was when like then obviously nutrition started for you. I'm guessing then plant-based started for you as well. And well, I kind of went through your feed a while back, and it's not the longest of journeys to get 1 million followers. Like, congratulations, that's like an extreme amount of people. With 1 million people, like in the grand scheme of things, is I can't even comprehend as like as a number. Um, Started it in 2018, was it?
In 2020, first, thank you. Yeah, we have a really, really amazing community. Like they're honestly fantastic people. It's incredible. Yeah, we started in 2020. So as I was finishing nutrition, my studies, sorry, we've always knew we wanted to do a little bit of content, but it's more started as a nutrition tips page and with a little bit of recipe just to kind of promote my nutrition clinic when it was going to open. But within 2 3 months, we were like, no, we absolutely love this. This is what we want to do. Cameron has a background in video and audio as well. So it just really made sense. We love doing it together. And we had a really good response very quickly. So I wasn't working back then. I was focused on opening the nutrition clinic. But within 6 months, Cameron quit his job and we went full time, the two of us together on this. And it's been, 2 years. We're doing this full time now.
That's amazing. Like, and the fact you have someone helping you as well, because when I first started out, in my head, I was like, I'm going to start content creating. I'm just going to start doing recipes. However, gave up very quickly because like cooking, then presenting the food, then taking the pictures, editing, posting, engaging, and all that was so time consuming on your own. And I don't see how, so I know so many people that actually do that on their own. I'm like, I don't know how you physically have the time.
Me neither. I have so many friends who are so multi-talented because they do it all from the beginning to the end of editing, and then they're writing the blog post. They're doing absolutely everything. If it was me doing the video, it would be a bit shaky. Cam's fantastic. And it's not just like, I can't stress this enough. It's not just like helping. He's like the core of this because he's encouraged me from the beginning and just really, really cheering on this.
Yeah, like it's good that like you've got the support network there as well for you. Because I was only taking pictures. Like at no point did I have no videography skills at all. And I was only taking pictures. And I think even just the editing of a picture, I was like, this is a bit too over, especially when you're like having to present the dish and kind of make it look nice. And like that would be at least, 3 hours work just trying to get a picture of it. So that I gave up very quickly on that one.
I think you're doing really well. I was looking at your Instagram before; it was really nice. But
Oh, thank you.
I think there's a lot of skills in video and photo.
Yeah, but like commend you completely with but how many recipes are you creating per week?
At the moment, I'm trying to do 4.
Okay, like that's for me that is just a wild amount because then there's so much back work to it as well, and then obviously you're creating recipe books at the same time, aren't you?
Sorry?
And then you're creating.
Okay, so I haven't really announced it yet, but hopefully the landing page and everything is sorted when this podcast comes out. I do have my first cookbook that is coming out in August, which I'm super, super excited about. So I literally just went cooking recipe bootcamp and we created 100 new recipe for this book that are absolutely amazing. I'm so excited about. And yeah, so I'm back to 4 recipe a week right now, but I'm just coming back from like really intense few months last year. It's been a lot, yeah.
Creating a recipe book, that's so much more as well. It is like as you said, a boot camp. Like you have to constantly create, and I've seen some of the behind the scenes of some of the other like recipe creators out there, that are creating books. I'm like, this is more than a full-time job. This is like a double job. Like there's so much going on because there's so much to put into it as well, and then obviously laying it out and making it look so beautiful, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely a big job. Yeah, it was a really big job. I'm not gonna lie, but it was so incredible. This is one of my 5-10 years goal. So that someone actually wanted me to make a book, and I got this opportunity. I was just like, even if it was a bit of a long day, I'm like, I'm just so grateful to be doing this. Yeah, really exciting. And this book is I hope is really the embodiment of everything that plant-based represent. And I really want it to be a tool for everyone. I'm covering literally from breakfast to snack, lunch, desserts. We're going the whole range. I have an entire salad chapter because I'm reclaiming salad, no boring lettuce, vinegar salad. We're not doing this. They're also like big, bountiful, eating the rainbow, 30 grams of protein. We're going full in. And yeah, with like every occasion from quick, easy meal prep to I'm hosting and I want to wow my entire family who said they've never had a vegan meal in their life. So yeah, it was a big work. We worked most of the last year on it. And I've actually just received the PDF this morning before our call of the final book. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't wait to see that. Because I feel like as well because with your platform and obviously now the book, I feel like you're making obviously delicious and healthy vegan food, but you're making it so accessible to people and helping people expand it into the mainstream that it's not weird to eat plants. Like it's fine to eat plants. Because when you look at the recipes, like this is a meal. It doesn't contain meat, but this is still delicious. And I feel as well for like people that are very time poor or very they maybe they're like a mom with like kids and they don't have a lot of time. These recipes are quick and easy. Especially the your little pots at the moment, your little pasta pots. Because I had your romesco pasta salad the other day.
Really?
It was absolutely it was absolutely beautiful. I was like, it was one of these weeks where I was moving house. I was like, I literally have no time to do anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is half an hour, less than that at most, and just such an incredible tasting meal as well.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I love that sauce. For those that are not familiar with this, the romesco is a sauce originally from Spain. So it's made with like red capsicum, bell pepper for American and UK. And almonds. It's got like a bit of acidity. It's really, really fresh, really delicious. But the little twist here is that we reduced the almond and added tofu. So it's a little bit lower in fat, a little bit higher in protein, and it makes it very satiating and super creamy.
It was super quick, and it just tasted incredible. Also, the lentil tofu as well.
Interesting.
Created that probably about a month or so ago now. Um, I saw that online. I was like, I do fancy something a bit different, and also incredible. Easy to make as well. It's so simple. It was it was such a simple recipe.
Look, I can't take credit for this one because it's really inspired from Burmese tofu, which is a traditional recipe made from chickpea. But yeah, it's really cool because I have a lot of people who might be allergic to soy in the community, and yeah, so it's just like a little option to offer. I did have to put this one with a massive disclaimer that it is not me saying you should not be eating soy, because things are easily misinterpreted. But yeah, it's a really, really good one, especially like air fried in a salad or something. Really good. I'm really
Yeah.
glad you're finding the recipe quick and easy. I actually have quite a wide range, I feel, between like those really quick, easy meal and those where you can spend a little bit more time on if you like try a few new spices and things. But at the end of the day, I'm just really mindful of my community's time and money as
Mm.
well. Because it's like you said, like you're a busy mom, you're coming home. There is a like just going to the supermarket and looking for new ingredients can be exhausting. So I want to make sure that if you're going through that effort of sourcing that thing you might not have seen before, or, and that can be as simple as tofu because sometimes people don't know where to find things that for us are quite easy. I want to make sure you're going to be home, you're going to love it.
I don't think I've seen a recipe where you're just adding bizarre ingredients as well that nobody can get like their hands on, because there's some recipe books that I've got in the past or that people have like followed and they're like, oh, you need this. I was like, I don't know where to get that, or it's something that I'm only ever going to use once. So there's I don't need to get this, or I'm just going to skip the whole recipe because I need something that's like some obscure recipe
Yeah.
that you can only get from like a health food store somewhere that's like 10 miles away. Like there's nothing that's just out there that's extreme that you need to go searching for. It's all something that you can find already kind of in your pantry already, or just in your local supermarket.
I'm very glad to hear that.
It was, yeah, I felt that was very refreshing. Um,
Thank you.
so I did actually get to vegan camp out this year,
Yeah,
and saw your talk, and
thank
obviously
you.
being in nutrition myself, like I absolutely loved it. Like it very much resonated with me because I feel like a lot of the time people when people talk about nutrition, they always kind of like focus on maybe one specific nutrient or like maybe one or two, but they don't kind of go into like your little nutrients of focus, I guess, um, which you did. But also starting off with the why I'm no longer vegan. Um,
I think we need to add a little bit of context in this.
yeah, so I feel like when that came up on stage, I was like, that has to be a joke.
So in November last year, I was very lucky to be invited to speak at Vegan Camp Out, which is usually a really big event in the UK. And this was the first time we had an Australian one. So I was very honored. I had like the biggest fangirl moment because they contacted me. They're like, yeah, Earthling Head's gonna be there. These people, I'm like, me? You want me to come and speak next to them? Like, and it was just like really exciting. And I got to speak about plant-based nutrition, and my boyfriend, who's a little bit cheeky and loves to grab people's attention, thought in the middle of a lot of very passionate speeches, we could start ours by talking about why people go no longer vegan. So he put in this giant screen, why I'm no longer vegan in a vegan festival. We actually have a video which, when I start speaking, is on the stage and someone was standing up to leave, and she's like, startled. And I actually, because when I was writing this speech, there's two prominent vegan advocate, I guess, maybe not that prominent, but people I was following who had recently came out as no longer vegan, and for health reasons. And it bugged me a little bit, because although I don't know anybody's individual circumstances or anything, I'm not behind, I didn't look that deep. I could tell there were a lot of key information that were maybe not applied in everyday life. And I think that's especially the vegan movement back, I don't know when you went vegan. I went vegan in 2015, I think. And there were a lot of nutrition myth, I would say, who are still resonating today with a lot of people in the community, but are not doing us a service as a community at all. And I'm talking about saying there's enough protein in broccoli, or we don't need blood tests, we don't need supplements. There's a lot of I can see your face, you're feeling it, hey?
I feel it so much. And I think as well, as you just said, there's a lot of key individuals in the scene that then turn their back on it. And then after so long, and they leave out key information about why they've done it. Or maybe they came over a health issue, but they haven't, but they never mention what that issue is. And is that something that could have been, easily fixed? With obviously what you were eating, is there something that you were missing out? And I think it's also become a huge trend on social media as well. Not even in our community, but obviously I just keep seeing videos appearing of being like, why I'm no longer vegan. And I was like, is this just because you kind of jumped on a trend without any prior knowledge of nutrition? And then you've kind of gone along with it. You've eaten basically the fake meats constantly. And just kind of, it hasn't worked out for you because you haven't been nourishing your body. Like, obviously, there's going to be some issues out there that may not be fixed. But I feel like there's a lot of people at the moment that are kind of going back on it. But I feel like it was because of trend. Because I think when you go for ethical reasons, I guess, it's hard to turn, once you have all that knowledge, it's hard to then turn back and go back.
Mm-hmm. I really don't think anyone is being, that's my optimism, malicious on intent. When it comes to all of this, I think everyone is saying what they think at the moment. The vegan community, sometimes, especially when you go vegan for ethical reasons, there is a massive downplay of the importance of sourcing those key nutrients and how to educate yourself. And I'm not saying this I'm talking about the vegan community right now because this is what we're in, but the same thing is absolutely true for the Omni community. Otherwise, we wouldn't have as much heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure as we have, just because everybody eats all day, we just think we all know so well what to eat. But it's not always the case, and it's not always as intuitive as we would like it to be. And yeah, I think going back to the vegan community, we're downplaying a little bit the importance that nutrition can have. And I don't want to be mean, but we can't keep telling people you can get enough protein to thrive by eating fruits, or all this. Yeah,
Yeah,
for example,
I feel There is a lot of misinformation out there as well, where, as you said, there like people being like, "Oh, you can get enough like protein from just broccoli." We know that's not true, and I feel like anybody that is believing that is very, very misinformed. Um, but there's obviously we know we can get protein from a variety of sources, and we can get a high amount of protein from various different sources. But then preaching that you can get it from things like just spinach alone or just broccoli, like I would hate to think how much you would have to eat to then actually get a daily recommendation of protein for that day from just something like spinach or broccoli. Like,
We don't have to eat it all day, even if we could stomach it, which I don't think we could. It would be really boring. No, but look, to say that we can absolutely get enough protein on a plant-based diet, I have a lot of little formats. It's like what I eat in a day, 125 grams of protein without protein powder, like without even getting that. So it's absolutely doable. The moment we know where to look for it, same as this nutrient of focus we were talking about, it's just like a little education curve. That once you're above it, then it's just such a breeze. Promise, it doesn't take that long, and then you feel amazing.
I think as well, like if you're eating a wide variety of foods and a wide variety of whole foods, and you're eating, a breakfast, lunch, dinner, like, and maybe a snack if you're partial to a snack, the majority of the time. But this is as long as you are eating a wide variety of like
Mhm.
foods, you are going to hit your protein goals, but not if you're just going to be eating basically a salad of tomatoes, lettuce, and cucumber.
That's it.
That's when the issues start to arise. Um, and other foods as well. Like if you were just going to go live on like nuts, it's you're going to find issues, but also you're going to find issues in any diet if you were to only.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it
There
was
is
like.
an education part in every single diet. A very actionable tip I actually love about protein and I tell people to do is build every single plate with a primary source of protein in mind. So that's your seitan, tempeh, tofu, edamame. I love edamame. They're like the easiest thing to chuck everywhere. And 1 cup has 18 grams of protein. It's so easy. Then you've got your lentil, black bean, chickpea, all of this. But then we want also to think about a secondary source of protein because often if you, for example, are choosing beans, unless you eat a very, very big amount, we do love to have a little sprinkle of something else just to like really get you through that threshold where you're not just following the RDA, which is zero point 0.8 gram of protein per kilograms, but you're actually going through that threshold where you're going to help with muscle growth, feeling great, feeling satisfied, just things we want to think about for longevity. And so the secondary source of protein, we've got nuts, seeds, nutritional yeast. I love nutritional yeast. Um, yeah, about that, some whole grain, quinoa, oats. And just like that, it's actually becomes quite easy to build a plate which has like around 25 grams of protein without overthinking it too much.
It is easy to start building these, and as long as you do have as you say, you have your first protein sources, then your secondary protein sources, and then other selection of foods. You're gonna be fine as long as. Also, when someone is like starting their vegan journey, it's always good to track, to kind of show
100%.
yourself that this is what I'm getting, and not on. I know people love MyFitnessPal, but I don't feel like MyFitnessPal was a great app for vegans. Um, I feel like something like Chronometer
I
is
love
so
chronometer.
much easier.
I'm not too familiar with my fitness, but I'm a chronometer.
Yeah, I feel like MyFitnessPal just kind of gives you your protein, carbs, fats. That's all it gives you. Whereas Chronometer is so in depth. You're getting the exact aminos. You're getting your exact minerals, your vitamins, and you can then calculate how much you want per day. Let's say you've got a goal. If you want to lose weight, you want to build muscle, you want to thrive and become more athletic. You can put all those bits in and then track everything. And I think even for like, I wouldn't say tracking for a long time, but tracking on when you first switch over to a vegan diet, um, is the best way just to kind of prove to yourself that you are doing everything perfectly, and there may be a few little tweaks that you need to do.
That's a really good strategy.
Yeah, I feel like that's the advice I give to a lot of the clients that I do have. It's been like, look, I will track for you, but if you, just in case you want to track yourself to make sure I'm just not lying to you, track yourself and make sure you know exactly what you're doing. Because once we part ways, I won't be doing that for you, and you should be doing that yourself. Like, it's not a long-term strategy, but as long as you know where you're getting your food from or your nutrients from.
Absolutely. It can be very empowering to knowledge is empowering. So just knowing, putting your most common meals in a tracker, even if you don't want to track on a daily basis, because honestly, I don't love it. That's not long term, but just for a couple of days to have an idea of like you're putting like eat your most eaten, most common meal for like 3 days and put that into Chronometer. And then you can really easily see where there is adjustment needing. Like, for example, for me, a few years ago when I did that the first time, everything was great, except very surprisingly, vitamin E. Very simple solution. Let's just add a little bit of more sunflower seeds and almonds. That's it. I would never have had any idea of the fact that I was maybe not meeting my vitamin E threshold on a regular basis without doing this, because it's a bit of an obscure one. Doesn't have really any symptom if you go down. So yeah.
I feel like there's quite a few nutrients as well, much like you say, vitamin E or vitamin K or some of the like minerals such as like copper and things like that people don't know exist. Like
Mm.
it's very I think when we grow up, you kind of learn, your protein, fat, carbs. You learn your vitamin A, C, D, and then like your iron and calcium. But the others are kind of just pushed out the way. So a lot of people don't know that these things exist. So when we do look at things like nutrients of focus, and obviously in your talk you went through your nutrients that you think would be the best to focus on. What ones would you say they are, right on, like?
So when I mean a nutrient of focus, I mean nutrient that we need to pay a little bit of extra attention on a plant-based diet. Because a plant-based diet, especially focused on whole food, is extremely rich in a very wide array of vitamins. There's just like a few little key, mostly minerals that we can absolutely find, but we just need to make sure we're conscious about incorporating those sources. So those are iron, zinc, calcium, selenium, and iodine.
See, selenium is a big one for me. I didn't know that existed, and then working out, like, if you're just eat a Brazil nut a day and you've got your, take it as like a supplement, I guess, is for me was the best way to kind of incorporate selenium into my diet, more than I already was, just in case one day it was lower. Like one selenium with like like Brazil nut with, like, let's say a B12, a B12 supplement isn't
B12, sorry, I
hitting.
forgot B12 because when we said nutrient, I am so focused on what we can get from food. And for me, B12 is the only thing that needs to be 100% supplemented on a plant-based diet. I recommend that to anyone.
Mhm.
Not sure what your stance is on it, but I personally find that the food source fortified are too unreliable. And it's extremely cheap. Just a little spray under the tongue. I think it costs like $10 a month, not even. And once a B12 deficiency has taken roots, it's extremely hard to cancel. And it has neurological effect. So it's really not one we want to go deep into it. Selenium's great. Selenium is a mineral. We only need a little bit of it, but it's extremely important, especially with energy level, because it's one of the building block of the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone is that little butterfly we have around here. And yeah, it regulates a lot of body function, including very big role in energy level. So it's an easy one to miss. And like you said, a very easy one to rectify. So 2 Brazil nuts a day, 100% covers all of our dietary need. One little caveat I mentioned, more is not better in this case, because too much selenium is going to like make you lose hair, have brittle nail. Like there's such a thing as selenium toxicity. It's a bit rare to be able to get too much from food about a nutrient, but that's the one. We cap it at 2 Brazil nuts a day. And if you're taking a multi-supplement, anything like that, just have a look, because you might not want to double it.
Yeah, the selenium toxicity, that's a huge one as well, because you assume that like getting the right amount of any nutrient or more is going to be fine, you're going to be perfect. However, with selenium, like if I go over this, it can have detrimental effects to my body.
Yeah, I actually had a lovely girl in our clinic who was taking a supplement, and she heard about selenium, and she was eating like 10 Brazil nuts a day sometimes. And she initially started the consultation because she was losing hair. And it was extremely quick to rectify because it was just too much selenium.
I think as well, iodine is definitely one that people should be more aware of, because it's not as easily accessible, unless you're kind of having your iodized salt. But then even if you're having a lot of that, can then cause issues. But also the fact that it's really only accessible in like, your sea products, as much as like your sea kelp, your maybe like the nori sheets and things like that. And unless you're going to take a supplement for that.
So for iodine again, the second building block of the thyroid hormone, and another one where we just need a little bit of it. So it's, like you said, iodized salt, which is really widely available in Australia. I believe not as accessible in the UK, for what I understood, or you can get it in seaweed. I think adding a little bit of seaweed on everything is, like, I personally find it tastes really, really good, and a great way to add umami flavor without overdoing it on sodium too. So yeah, even like putting a nori sheets in like your mini blender and getting that into powder form to sprinkle on salad or even on your sandwich or anything is a really easy way to do it if you don't have iodized salt. Otherwise, yeah, um, I'm a bit of a salt snob. So I like my sea salt flakes, which is not iodized. So I vary it up. I'm going to use my iodized salt to cook my pasta or to cook my grains. This kind of food where it's not, as much. But then I'm going to finish it off with my sea salt flakes. So if that's you too, just be mindful. Add a bit of seaweed.
Oh,
Supplement.
And then we have iron as well. I feel like iron's that's one that gets thrown around quite a lot as well on social media, where we can get enough iron, and we know we can get enough iron, but there's obviously ways to take in more.
Yeah, look, I think iron is probably the trickiest one, and I don't know how much you work with people who menstruate, but for yeah, that makes it a little bit more complicated, because 40% of women worldwide are deficient in iron to start with. So that's before, obviously, a lot more people than plant-based people, right? And some of the telltale of iron deficiency straight away is feeling really, really low in energy and having sometimes breathing difficulties. So when we have this group of people to start with, and on top of that, we add the fact that we're now using non-heme iron, which is a source we find in plants, it becomes something we need to put a little bit more of attention in. So the daily recommendation for people who menstruate is 18 milligrams per day, 14 for adults who do not. And when we take into consideration the bioavailability of iron, we want to multiply that number by 1.8 approximately. These studies, so that gets us to 32 on the top of my head. This number does not take into consideration the booster of iron. So non-heme iron absorption can be enhanced greatly when combined with vitamin C or alliums. Alliums is your garlic, onion, leek, all of this family. And vitamin C, we're all familiar with vitamin C, I'm sure, is that you find in like a lot of veggies and fruit. So when you want to focus on your iron absorption on a plant-based diet, first it can be really helpful to figure out what is your number depending of what stage of life you are in. And because again, knowledge is empowering. And from there, we want to look at our source of iron. So on a plant-based diet, we have lentils, an excellent one. We have green veggies, beans, nuts, seeds, tofu. There's lots of options. You can look for protein powder, which is fortified in iron too. In Australia, we have quite a few like healthier range of cereals, which are as well. So just things to be mindful of, and always pairing it with vitamin C, or I would say garlic. Just I'm pro garlic on everything, you know. And that will help immensely. Another thing to be mindful about is there is some other things that makes it a little bit more difficult to absorb. So this is going to be the tannins that you have in tea and coffee. So we want to keep it 1 hour tea and coffee, 1 hour before or after a meal. And they also are in decaf and some herbal tea, unfortunately. So just something to be mindful of. And also calcium. Calcium can bind on the same receptor as iron and lower it. So if you're making like an iron boosting smoothie, you're adding chlorella, for example, which is a seaweed that's packed with iron. You add your spinach, bit of kiwi for that vitamin C to boost it. But then you're adding a calcium fortified soy milk. You might just be like competing a little bit with the iron absorption. So we can use coconut water instead. Like it's a really easy little swap. Again, I think just like being aware of it makes it a little bit easier to rise on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think with the calcium and the protein and the iron, these are all very, very easy fixes. Like there's nothing that's kind of a lot of effort or very hard to kind of get, as long as you have the knowledge and you put that knowledge into kind of fruition.
Mhm.
Then you're not gonna come across like issues with getting the right amount. It very much is that you need the knowledge prior, because for a long time, until I studied nutrition as well, that I had no knowledge that, you know, tannins, for instance, or, you know, your caffeine will block iron. And so I'd be drinking, you know, a coffee with my meal, not realizing that it does anything. And then there's that kind of the block off effect. And until people have that knowledge within them, like, people are just going to carry on and be like, oh, I'm starting to get lower iron, but I have no idea how to fix this. I'm adding vitamin C, but nothing's happening. And then obviously there's these minor little bits and pieces that we could just, you know, switch, have it like 2 hours before, have it 2 hours after, and you're finally gonna have your iron.
Absolutely. And I think this might sound a little bit overwhelming or overcomplicated if you're just like coming at it for the first time, but it really doesn't have to be, like you said before. As long as you're focused on a predominantly whole food, plant-based, like, and again, that's like including your beans, legumes, lentils, whole grain, and veggies, plus fruit, nuts, and seeds. You will cover pretty much, you'll be there, almost there. Then we're just refining depending on your little, like on everyone's specificity. And you don't have to learn it all at once. It could be this month, I'm going to learn about iron rich food. And this month, I'm going to focus on that. And next month, well, we're not going to dedicate a whole month to selenium because to Brazil, that's okay. But next month, I'm going to focus on learning about plant protein. And the month after that, I'm going to test all the whole grains that exist and pick my favorite, you know, just so I can have a wide diversity. It doesn't have to be all at once at all.
That's the thing. I think, like, once you have the knowledge, it becomes easier. Like, I know when I first started studying, I was like, this is overwhelming. But once it's broken down into, like, because when it comes down to nutrition, like, although it is overwhelming, like, it is also easy once you have the knowledge. As long as you know where these things are coming from and you implement them into your strategy, like, there's no reason that this can't work out for you. It's just finding the knowledge. It's taking the time to learn it. and educating yourself. And then as soon as that's there, it becomes second nature.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think just focusing on a wide diversity of plants and just like it can be just as simple as eating the rainbow. And you're like focusing, you have your first and secondary protein source and eating the rainbow. If you just follow this, you're going a really, really long way.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that you did point out as well, which I think people also overthink is or don't think about at all, is when you're choosing your plant milks.
Mm-hmm.
People choose oat milk, assuming that it's going to have the same nutrition qualities as, let's say, your cow's milk. However, it doesn't at all. And for me, like, I opt for oat milk all the time, but also I know the rest of my diet's nutritionally sound. Like, but when you opt for oat milk, thinking it's going to give you the same, let's say, like protein levels as cow's milk, then these people not the same. You need to opt for something that's a bit better, a bit more developed, such like a soy milk.
Yeah, I think for sure, when you're deciding to replace an entire food group, it can be a really good strategy to find a replacement that have similar nutritional benefits. So in the case of dairy, we are going to look for protein and calcium. Plant milk on themselves do not have enough calcium. We in Australia is widely available. So I personally love, like, my soy milk for my coffee is not fortified in calcium because it's my favorite soy milk. It tastes super creamy. I love it. But the soy milk I use for my smoothie, for cooking, everything, and I use quite a fair bit of it. You've seen my recipes. Is a soy milk that is fortified in calcium. So 1 cup of that is getting you 400 milligrams of calcium, which is 1/3 of our recommendation, pretty much. So it's a really, really easy swap. Same with the yogurt you're going to use or these kind of things. Just some little things to be mindful along the way.
Absolutely. Once you have these things in place and you can work out, like, once you've cut out like a entire food group and you've replaced with something, then everything's going to become easier and you're not going to really come across any issues. And if there is any issues that aren't down to diet, then like that's a different conversation for a different time with somebody else. But like when it comes to nutrition, once you have all those bits in place, like, there's no reason why it can't work for you.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think the biggest disparity we see in people who follow, let's say, an omni diet to vegan diet is that the deficiency on an omni diet are more like a longevity and long-term heart disease that will appear and will take years to develop than on a plant-based diet. Like those nutrients we were just talking about, like selenium or iron, are going to really quickly, if you're deficient, affect your energy level. So you will be getting all that fiber, all those antioxidants, all this longevity food. But in the short term, you might feel a little bit tired and things, which is things that people are going to notice a lot more quickly. But again, with just a few very, very easy steps that we've talked about, it's easily avoidable.
I put a little post out the other day to get a few questions for you. And I think the majority of the people that did write back were in Australia as well. So I had two questions for you. One was, where is it? Here it is. So you being in Australia, what is your top 3 vegan restaurants in Sydney?
Oh my God, I'm the worst person to ask this question to. I rarely go out these days. Look, my number one favorite is that I've been recently. I'm going to tell you 3 good restaurants I've been to recently. How about that?
That one.
Miss Tina in Marrickville. She's like the absolute sweetest, and she makes us like insane pastries that, it's like giving French bakery, like it's It's incredible. We recently went to Komeko in Newtown, which is like an organic gluten-free Japanese, and you would never believe it's an organic gluten-free vegan Japanese. They've just launched a ramen menu, and we got to try that the other day, and it was incredible. Like best ramen I've ever had. And I love Mark and Vinny's. I've been going to Mark and Vinny's since like forever. Yeah, the owner is like the nicest person in the world, and they have like great pizza and pasta, and it's like a really cute date vibe, you know. Like, have you been there?
I've not been to Mark and Vintage yet. I've been to the others. Miss Cena as well. They were actually on TV last night as well.
Yes, so
They were
exciting.
in front of I think it's Gordon Ramsay, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay's food stuff. I
And
have a
also,
hashtag for cooking show. I'm watching every single Gordon Ramsay show while I'm cooking, and it has a lot, so it's great. You know, it matches with my cooking a month because we could go for years. And yeah, so I'm very excited to see. There's a Rude Boy Donuts who in there as well, which is another great little donut shop in Sydney. I don't know if they have a shop anymore, but really, really good. And so yeah, it's cool to see a couple of like vegan Sydney people on a Gordon Ramsay show.
yeah, but also the girl from Ard as well, the vegan backlavas
Oh, is that
is on there as
her
well. She's
name?
on there as
I
well.
wasn't familiar with this one, but yeah, it looked delicious.
Yeah,
Haven't had a baklava in years. I mean,
I managed to try one for the first time at like the Rocks markets,
mm,
and then at the Sydney vegan markets as well. And they're just incredible. I hadn't had a baklava in years either. I was like, this is
how
unreal.
exciting!
But yeah, it's beautiful. If you ever get a chance to get down and have one, absolutely unreal. I
I,
literally, you'd never
it's
know.
on my list. Like when I saw that, I was like, I love Greece. I love the Greek islands. That's our favorite place to go with Cam. And yeah, every time I'm like, I'm popping into every shop. You know, I still have hope. I'm like, any chance you have one without honey? So yeah, I'm excited for that.
And the other question, I feel like it's a two-parter actually, which is, did you ever intend for plant-based to take off? Or I think that
Look, very early on, I was aware that there is only so many people I can talk to in a day when I'm doing one-on-one consultation. And it was not natural for me, if that's your question. It took me a little bit to get out of my shell and get on camera. But yeah, it was just like really this thing that you can talk and communicate to so many people at once when you're on social media. And so I guess it's always been not really in the pipeline, but you know, I hope I feel confident to do this one day. And yeah, it's been the most rewarding journey I never thought I would be on, but I'm so, so glad I am. I honestly have the best community. They're like incredible. They're like texting every day and
oh,
so great.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that answers your question, because the person that did send it was like, is the actual wording for it is plant-based a thing? So I assume that's how it's how it's meant to be asked.
Look,
Um,
I don't know if it's a thing yet, but we are very intentional with it now, and it's definitely going to become a thing. Not
and
sure
I
if
think,
it's yet, but it will.
and the second part of that one question that she sent was, out of all your recipes, which one's your favorite?
Oh my God. Honestly, okay, this is really hard, and I often say with Cam, my biggest issue is that I don't get to eat enough of my recipes because between all the it's gonna sound silly, but between all the recipe testing we're doing, especially with like just wrapping up the book, I don't have enough meals in the week to get back to my favorite over and over again. No, look, There's one of my recipe which went ridiculously viral and has been tested by hundreds and hundreds of people. So I know it might be everybody's favorite because it's definitely in my top 3. It's my Mediterranean roasted potato and tzatziki ball. And so
Oh, that
that's
sounds amazing.
like a delicious layer of like tzatziki, which if you guys are not familiar with, is like yogurt with cucumber, dill, lime, garlic, like really fresh. And then I did roasted potato veggies with broccoli and crispy chickpeas in spices. And so it's like actually super easy to do, but then you top it with that and a few little herbs. Oh, amazing. Like this one, I have at least 2-3 times a month, which is rare for us because we need to keep testing.
That one sounds incredible, and I will go down and find that and try that.
You have to. Honestly, it's so good.
So I am going to wrap this up in a second.
Mm-hmm.
However, you being in the content creator world, what other content creators should we be following?
Oh.
So I feel like, yeah, give us your. I feel like giving a top 3 kind of,
Yeah.
throws people out of the loop. But yeah, your top 3 other recipe creators that we should be following.
Okay, so recipe creator, absolutely obsessed with the plant-based RD. Catherine, her recipe, I could eat every single one of them. Incredible. Pick up lime because that's how I went vegan. She's amazing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's mostly on YouTube. She has incredible recipes, but also video explaining nutrition. Number 3, oh my God, I have so many. Soft Plant Kitchen. If you like high protein recipes, she's absolutely incredible. Cooking for Peanut, Better Food Guru, Chloe Vegan. I'm not gonna just give you 3.
Oh yeah, name them all. Name
And
them all.
Liz Meal Fun Recipe is also in Sydney. Like we just did one together. She has like the best videos. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good lineup if you want to start. And I'm not gonna stop there. I'm just gonna throw in, you need to follow for nutrition Simon here, because doesn't get more science proof than that. I love Dr. Eats, even if it's not just vegan, but really cool info. And for ethical vegan, Earthling Eggs.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think you can beat Earthling Eggs.
Yeah, Earthling Eddie has got such a nice way of talking about things as well. It's beautifully he's beautifully educated. He's beautifully educated in the way he can speak, and it's incredible. And Simon as well. I absolutely love Simon, and the Proof podcast is such a inspirational topic as well. Inspirational topics every single week.
And I'm going to remember about 10 recipe creators after this that I'm gonna feel like so bad for not naming, but it's 10 in the morning. I haven't had coffee yet, and I'm really sorry. Oh, there's so many incredible ones, honestly. Yeah.
And of course yourself.
Yeah, follow me too at Plant Days.
So where can we find you?
Everywhere. Every single social media you can think of. I'm not on X, that's about it. I'm even on Thread. I don't post, but I'm there. But yeah, you can find me. Our main platform is Instagram. But we're also on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Thread, Pinterest, and mostly now where we actually post all of our recipe. And there is a lot of like cool nutrition thing coming up for free. Lots of cool resource coming up in the next month is my website, which is www.plantbase.com. I'll let you put that in the footnotes. But that's where you're going to find all of our recipes and educational info in a much more concise format.
That's perfect. What I'll do is I'll stick that all in there. I'll stick every social in there, just so whatever social you're on. I'm guessing that includes Pinterest as well.
Yeah, Pinterest too. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you, Sarah.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored. And that was super fun to chat with you and get to know you. And yeah, if you guys who are listening have any questions or anything, feel free to pop into my DM or the contact form on my website, because as much as I really try to respond to everyone on the DM, sometimes they can be missed. So if you have any burning question, contact form on the website. We respond to all of them.
Perfect.